Called The Greater Wealth, and today we're in a different studio. We're in Studio 1, mate. How do you feel, the comfort of losing your couch but gaining a desk?
Look, I'm hands-free.
Yeah.
Which is great.
This is great. It's a good look. I like it. I like it very much.
But I've got stuff in my ears, headphones. So, no, look, it takes me back to my old days, mate.
Yeah. Well, look, this is the mechanics of how Edge works. This is, in the dark room. Well, it's not so dark at the moment, but it's about to get darker because you can see right there, I'm pointing to my own screen here, but there's a gentleman folk on the screen there. I'm going to dive straight into it. Derek, you've been researching some pretty fascinating stuff about digital ID. This is stuff I want to hear about. So let's go with it. Let's jump straight into the show.
So you remember Tristan Trudeau?
Oh, yeah.
So the pin-up boy of the World Economic Forum.
Yep.
That's what I call him. He's basically saying that he is wanting to push legislation through with the provincial premiers to cut off healthcare funding unless they agree to a digital health ID.
Say that again.
So what he's wanting to do is that he's wanting to push through so that you have to have a digital ID to access healthcare in the in Canada. And he's trying to get that through the provincial premiers of the country. But it goes further than that. It's not just stopping at healthcare. It's actually pushing through to other areas that will affect Canadians' lives. And basically, through the research of a TikTok user called Introverts008, and it's being published, this article, by the Gateway Pundit.
Sure.
They're pretty edgy on what they publish.
Okay.
They basically said that he's told them that they would not be able to get funding for our healthcare unless the premiers agree to the digital IDs. You'll not be able to access any healthcare. Without these digital IDs, you'll not actually be able to carry a bank account.
Wow.
So it's financial as well.
Sure.
Or do anything online regarding financial transactions. For farmers and consumers, you'll not be able to get into stores. You'll not be able to get even to sell anywhere. Once they have the system in place, this is where the digital currency will come in. You'll not be able to shop online. You'll literally need this ID in order to get TikTok, Twitter, or Facebook. No more fake accounts. If you want your taxes done or any sort of government benefits, you'll need a digital ID. You'll not be able to get an internet provider without this digital ID, and they'll be able to track you. This is basically a hostage situation of our tax money.
That's exactly what it is. This is absolutely, we're being held hostage for our information.
Well, Canadians are. Now, this is what they're proposing.
Yes.
Now, bear in mind that we're in the Commonwealth, right?
Absolutely.
So we are connected more. I've been noticing a lot of push in terms of digital IDs with the government system. They want to overhaul government what is it called? MyGov.
Sure.
The online platform.
Which is always such a reliable thing because, you know what? I still can't get into mine. I mean that. I can't get into mine. I've tried everything. They've gotten back to me, everybody, and we've holding all sorts of, little campaigns to try and get it fixed. No. And that's probably been, I don't know, I've been trying to sort that out for about 3 years. Yeah. So it's a good, safe system. Yeah.
And I think this is the issue that, we saw this push last year with the digital IDs for directors of companies.
Sure.
If we can get the business community bowing to this, then perhaps we can roll it out to the individual citizens.
That's right.
And if they're doing it in the Commonwealth, you can just see how the things are attempting to take away freedoms for people, freedom of choice, freedom of movement, and all this sort of stuff. In fact, I've got a little bit of a video clip here, excerpt. We can play the audio.
Regarding the digital IDs, yesterday in Canada, Justin Trudeau met with all of our provincial premiers and basically told them that we will not be able to get funding for our healthcare unless the premiers agree to the digital IDs. I will show all the proof. Now, those of you who think that digital IDs are great, they are not. Let me show you what these digital IDs will actually entail when it comes to control. Here's an overview basically of everything that will be included in the digital IDs. This can be found on the WEF website and also on all of the provincial and government websites. You will have healthcare. You will not be able to access any healthcare without this digital ID. Financial system. You will actually not even be able to carry out bank accounts or carry out anything online regarding financial transactions. Food and sustainability. This says for farmers and consumers, you will not be able to get into stores. You will not be able to even sell anywhere. Once they have this system in place, this is where the digital currency will come in. Travel and mobility. We saw that with the Arrive scam app. Humanitarian responses, which is basically just garbage. It's in case something happens, they will be able to track and find you, including if you don't want anything injected in your body. E-commerce. You will not be able to shop online. Then you have social media platforms. You will literally need this ID in order to get TikTok, Twitter, or Facebook. No more fake accounts. You have e-government. So if you want your taxes done, any sort of benefits from there, you will need this. Then it gets even scarier. Telecommunications. You will not be able to actually get an internet provider without this digital ID, and they will be able to track you. And then up there you have smart cities, and we all know what those are. Those of you who think I'm lying, here's the federal condition. In order for us to access our money, our tax money, this is basically a hostage situation of our tax money. And what you will see is instigators, government instigators under Twitter, under Justin Trudeau, that basically say we need to push our provincial governments to, get the money so that we can spend it better. No, we don't. We actually need to call our provincial governments right now, today and tomorrow, and every single day until they scrap this digital ID. They cannot pass this without our approval. So I need everybody in Canada to call your provincial governments and literally tell them that this is not going to happen. If we need to privatize, if we need to somehow get into a different system of healthcare, we need to do that. As for everyone in the United States, you're kind of lucky because your healthcare is privatized. There's also a lot more internet providers, some that will not go along with it because of capitalism. So your money is actually speaking a lot louder in the United States. But Canada, this is coming down the pipeline, and it's coming down the pipeline fast.
It sounds pretty alarming if you go from that perspective.
Absolutely.
What I want to say is this. This is why I've been talking a lot about digital IDs and the problems with them, and also it's just too much power to a government body.
Way too much, absolutely.
And this is what I call the beast system. Now, what do I mean by that? You refer to the 666, the mark of the beast, which is in scripture, this sort of stuff. Let's go back to it. It's all laid out there. Travis has just messaged me and said, that is messed up. You're absolutely right.
Travis, we might be able to hear you because I can hear some funny little noises in the background. Yes, we can. There we go.
Woohoo, it's working.
You're very quiet, but you're there.
All right, let's do this then. That is absolutely messed up. And the scary thing is, you got to remember that Canada is still a part of the Commonwealth.
Yes.
So in Australia, we have a little thing called common law. So a lot of the laws that are actually passed in Canada can actually be used in Australia as well. So this is setting a precedent that can actually be used in Australia. And a lot of all the other Commonwealth countries as well.
Let's throw something at it there. Okay, over the last couple of days, we're hearing about the new push to become a republic. Okay, now, something that I actually haven't been particularly positive about. But I tell you right now, if we're breaking away from systems like this, perhaps it's a positive thing to look at. I don't know. Look, I used to look at Canada and I used to think these are the most reasonable people on earth, right? They're most agreeable. Yeah, but they certainly under Trudeau and Trudeau's, oligarchy, they have proven themselves to be this aggressive, controlling organisation. And look what they did with the truckers over the last couple of years. Look at the fact that they froze their bank accounts. They stopped people. They put people actually in jail for taking food to people who are protesting. Now, we have a right in Australia, we have a right in Canada, we have a right in the world to protest about things that are unjust. This is ridiculous. This shows like a step to, a 1984 that we have to stand up against.
So what I believe is happening is this: they're trying to bring this B system in too early. All right, I don't believe that it's the right time in terms of world history and where we're going. They're trying to speed it up. I think eventually the world, in what Revelation calls the Great Tribulation, will occur.
Yep.
I don't believe we're in that era as far as the spiritual connection's concerned.
Okay.
But I'm finding that there are a lot of people who are resisting this, and not resisting this, are afraid and going, I don't know how to. What can I do? There's nothing I can do. I'm picking up from, my wife went shopping the other day and was talking to, someone at the health store, and somebody, the government is trying to shut down health stores. They're making it more and more difficult for health stores in Australia to actually operate because it's seen as it's outside of pharmacia. Yeah, it's outside of that whole control system. So this is what remember I've been talking about the Babylonian system, right? Yep. This is the Babylonian system that is at work here and at play here. And we've got to resist it. And we've got to remember that we're more than they are. All right?
But that's what people forget.
There is more of us than
Exactly
them. Okay. And we've got to resist. Now, Australia is great in the sense that in terms of politics, as most Australians don't like politicians,
Yes.
one of the great things about our system is that politicians, on the most part, are very approachable.
I don't agree
If
with
I
that.
want an appointment with my local member, I can
Yep.
get one. Right?
No, you can't.
No?
And I'll tell you right now,
Okay.
okay? Here's an example. I will give you an example. We're going straight to the Aaron book of,
All right.
okay, of how politics works really in this country. Now, I, several years ago, sent an email to my local member, my federal member, okay? Now, what is his name again? Geez, member for Pierce. Used to be the Attorney General. What is his name there, Travis?
Oh,
Christian Porter. Now, Christian Porter, now, let's just forget about the little scandals he got involved with, but let's just talk about this scandal, right? And this isn't, as far as I'm concerned, a scandal. Now, I sent him a very brief rundown of some corruption that was taking place in the family court. Now, the family court has an ability to do what it likes because it runs under Section 121, which means basically they can hide in the shadows and you can't publicly talk about the atrocities they get up to. So, okay, no problem. You know what? I'll go to my local member. Now, I sent him some absolute black and white information of corruption and said, I'd like to make an appointment with you. I have this evidence. I have substantial evidence. I can bring to you. I've got video. I've got audio. I can bring you corruption. You know what his reaction was? He sent the anti-terrorism police to my house to question me. That's how accessible our politicians are in this country. Now, I also now further find out that his donors tend to be, legal firms here in Perth that might have a little bit of an interest there. We have so many dirty politicians. We do not have accessible politicians. Our politicians are, in the main, there are a few good ones out there, let's be absolutely honest, some sensational ones, but in the main, okay, these are people who are completely self-interested. They toe the party line no matter what, and they have no interest whatsoever in serving the public, which is their role. That is their job. So I get very passionate about this, and I've actually pegged it back, trust me. But, okay, Christian Porter is a corrupt politician. He's now a former politician, now he's a lawyer, and I don't care, mate, sue me if you like, because, okay, that is morally corrupt to actually use your power, abuse your power that way to try and intimidate a constituent who is bringing genuine concerns to you. And to me, the tie between your financials and your concerns is a concern. Thank you.
the other thing you've got to remember in all of that, Aaron,
Yes.
is the media is supposed to be one of the organisations that are supposed to keep politicians honest.
Louder, please, mate. Yep.
by telling the everyday people about what's going on out in the world.
Mhm.
And you can clearly see that the media is just as bad as what these politicians are
No doubt.
talking about, because they're going out of their way to try and protect them.
They will, and they're exactly right. They choose their side. We look at what's been going on with Albo over the last month or so. The disgusting virtue signalling that's been taking place with what's going on in Alice Springs, which has been going on in Alice Springs for a very long time. No, our politicians in this country are not accountable in any way, shape, or form.
I was comparing my comments to the approach. Being able to approach a politician in Australia
Yes.
to perhaps other parts of the world,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Let's say South Africa, not South Africa. Sorry, I meant Africa in general, continents,
Sure.
South America. I meant, and that sort of thing. There's under some dictatorships. There's no way you're going to get in the door. That's what I was comparing it to.
Sorry, Aaron goes off. I go off on my tangent there, but it upsets me because it's.
It's a good tangent, though.
Yeah, look. Thank you for telling us your what can I say, story or
Sure.
experience, I
Yep.
should say. That's
Yep.
what I'm looking for. Your experience in terms of local politicians, that sort of thing. And I think that certainly needs to come to light in relation to the relationship Australians have with their politicians.
That's why we don't trust them.
We got to keep them honest. And I think that's the pressure of a community. And getting back to my point here is there are more of us than them.
So true.
And I think that's what we've got to remember in all of this, not to feel powerless. The attempt is, if you are continually watching mainstream media and news, you're going to start feeling powerless. You're going to start believing the lies. You're going to start believing. If you hear a lie often enough, you're going to start believing it.
For sure.
And unfortunately, a lot of it is propaganda. And I'm going to say this, having worked in the media in previous times,
Sure.
I guess I'm still am now, mainstream media is there to be the voice of the people, and it has lost that voice. It is now pushing a one-sided argument and not giving both representation of both sides of the story.
My argument would be that it hasn't been that for a very, very long time.
Yep.
My argument would be, let's be honest, it's a business, okay, and they need to make money, and they have shareholders, they have people that want to get a dividend out of this, and the tie between politics and money will never ever stop. That's why look at this show, right? Ultimately, if you look at the mainstream media and you look at them and you say that their duty is to bring us factual information, unfortunately I think you're living 40 years ago. I think really what you need to be really honest and go, hang on, what I'm doing now is I'm consuming programming from a business that wishes to make money.
Sure. It needs to come excuse me, it needs to come back to that. Let's get back to digital IDs
Absolutely.
and health IDs. So I've mentioned before on this show that there's a lot of mistrust as far as the obviously politics is concerned.
Sure.
Probably, it's at a new height than ever before. I also would say that the health system is going to be the next one in line in relation to people being able to trust that. I mean, I'm finding with particular people that are closer to me, there's mistrust to just go see the doctor over a cold or a flu or whatever, these days. And it was almost like they were pushed away during COVID that if you did feel ill, you're not allowed to come in the doors because you might have COVID. And it was just ridiculous, in terms of you're sick and you can't see a doctor. That's the whole
doesn't
idea.
make any sense.
So we've seen that push away. And I think the push needs to be harder in relation to, yes, doctors should have stood up in those areas and didn't.
Well, they were threatened.
Yeah.
It's simple as that, black and white. And coming down to trust, okay, so we've got a situation now where over the last 3 years, our politicians have, longer than 3 years, but certainly in the last 3 years, they have pushed their foot on the throttle for lying to us. Our politicians have been, in the main, very, very, very dishonest, okay? But we've also seen our health system, we've seen that APRA is completely dishonest and is basically putting out the opinions of whoever pays for, their long lunches, right? Where do we go now? Are we looking at a bureaucracy that is so dishonest? Who can we talk to and actually get reliable information? And I'll tell you what it is right now. Everybody's turning to the alternative media, and if you are still stuck into this this reality rather of watching, your Channel 7, your Channel 9, your ABC. ABC is just pathetic beyond any description, right? If that's where you're getting information, if you're getting it from the Kitty Litter Times, the newspapers there, then I'm sorry, but it's about time that you took responsibility for yourself and go, hey, it's time for me to go and shop for my information, go look at different sources, because you've got to understand you are being educated, indoctrinated by a business, not an information service.
The privacy of citizens has been totally overlooked in the new technology coming on. And this takes it to a new extent where basically everything is centralised and restricts the freedoms of individuals to be able to operate in that society, have a voice, have to be the ability to buy and sell from whoever they want to, and access healthcare. That's a huge, huge restriction.
Let's look at something. The USSR, okay? I'm sorry, but okay. Didn't bloody work, right? Didn't work. Have we not learnt from our mistakes? No, we don't, right? We're forcing ourselves down these same paths, going back to socialism and communism. And that's what this is, right? This is communism, right? It's just... I think
it's further than communism.
Yeah, you're probably right. Actually, you are genuinely right.
It's dictatorship.
Yeah. But this is with a bow on it, right? Okay, life will be so convenient. You can go and pay your groceries with your wrist and all yada, 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 yada. No, this is complete control. And... if you want to look at history, and I'm a big believer in looking at history to see where we're going in life, right? You need to go and accept the fact that communism, that socialism has never worked, ever, right? And everybody's got a new version, and this one's going to work. No, it's not.
The hope in this is that we have seen the World Economic Forum have one of the worst conferences they've had on record. The independent media showed up, harassing them, in their words, in between places and venues, exposing them for what they are. I think there has come out of that a lot of pushback from the Republicans of the United States against the World Economic Forum.
Absolutely.
This reporter here, this lady who is reporting this is all off the World Economic Forum website, is demonstrating that, you know what, there is this pushback going on. There is this, who are these bodies who have self-appointed to dictate to the rest of the world, sovereign states, how they should be operating. And I think that's what we've got to keep in mind. It's like, who are you over there in Davos to tell us what to do?
Yes.
And that's I want to put some hope in people.
Definitely.
You do have some power. You do have some control here. And that is, you get vocal about it.
Yes.
You speak up and you give hope to other people as well. You're saying, you know what? We don't have to do that.
It's responsibility.
The basic form, right? If we want to get back to it, the basic form of doing economy is bartering.
Yes.
Right?
True.
You can still barter, and the ATO hate it because they can't tax it. Okay? They don't like it. But it's the oldest form of exchange. Of
course it is.
You know what? I'll give you 5 widgets for that cow or whatever it might be.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm all out of widgets, but yes, I'm on you.
Yeah. So, it's not all helpless. It's not all hopeless.
Oh, look, it's far from it. In fact, there's a great ray of light at the moment. I don't know if you're aware of this, but and I don't want to be. Here's something I really want to push here is that I don't want to push a particular political party. Everybody knows my affiliations that I've had in the past and will probably have in the future, whatever. But the reality is, you have to give credit where credit's due. Now, Malcolm Roberts, the work he's done has been, as a senator in Australia, has been absolutely outstanding.
One of the lone voices out there.
Absolutely. But you take, Antic, Rennick, people like that who have stepped up, the performance of those people. Now, when it comes to, we had effectively the WHO were going to take, the World Health Organization were going to take control of Australia from the point of view of these would stop being recommendations and they would actually have control. Now, in the Australian Senate, that has been squashed. So, total, hat off to, as I say, Malcolm Roberts particularly. Obviously, I'm a big believer in the work that he's doing, but to the other senators. And this is the great thing about, again, I know we hate politicians. I know that they're annoying as hell, but...
Well, I don't hate them, but you've got to understand what's behind them.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is bigger than just flesh and blood.
Damn right.
Right? There is a spiritual force behind this. This
I
is
agree.
Bigger than all of us.
Yep.
So what I do is I attack the spirit behind them.
Well,
because people, I don't know if you've ever met anyone, but you could think that the devil's controlling them, right?
Oh, absolutely. Again, leave my ex-wife out of this.
So
just have a look at Sam Smith at the Grammys.
Oh, yes, I'm looking forward to talking about that puppy.
Yeah.
Look, it looks like a lamb roast, but I think, look, ultimately, you are...
You hate evil.
I hate evil.
I hate evil
yeah,
too.
that's exactly
and I think that's what you're trying to express here.
Yeah.
We hate evil.
Yeah.
And we should hate evil because it's wrong. It's damaging to us. It's damaging to our community. It's damaging to the children and the future generations. It's damaging to our country. And that's what we've got to hate, folks. And that's where that's got to be directed.
Absolutely. Our job is to make the world the best possible place we can for our children and their children's children.
And I want to love the people who've gone a little bit off course or don't understand.
Yep.
Back on track and go, you know what, guys, there is a better way to do this, and it can serve humanity, can serve our future and our children's future a lot better.
A lot of people in my life at the moment saying, oh, look, don't deal with this person because, they had those negative attitudes last year, the year before or whatever. I'm not thinking that way. I'm really not. Because, okay, you make your decisions based on the information you have in front of you, right? And the information those people had in front of them, they made their decisions on that. Now, if they are now in a position where they're going, hey, you know what, I want to look at a bit of column A, a bit of column B, and come up with my own decision here. My door is open. Simple as that. I want to converse. I want to express my thoughts with those people. We can't do that. We can't. Again, evil wants us to segregate. Okay.
Yes.
And again, like I said before, communism's never worked, and so has segregation. Has it ever worked? No. It has always brought up negative and and a horrible result. So, if we keep ourselves pure and we keep ourselves looking at what is generally good for the world, good for people in the future, no matter what comes our way, you can just you've got to push it aside and get on with it. But I think it's really important not to allow all of this to break us up. We should be using this as solidarity.
So there's two parts of this that I can see. One, it wasn't all that long ago that we were in lockdowns, mandates were being put on people and their freedoms and rights, etc. Let's not forget that, right? We got to keep pushing. We've had a bit of a reprieve, a bit of a catch your breath after that, but we've still now got to need to keep pushing.
It's the eye of the storm.
Yep, because this is the agenda they're pushing. We got to push back, but remember, let's not be in fear.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it out of love.
Yep.
But we're doing it for the love of our kids.
Yeah,
At least that's my motivation.
Yeah,
we're doing it for the love of our country. You know, I
Yep.
love this country. So, in order for that to happen, hey guys, we are setting the path for the future here, and this is what we've got to do.
Now, on this Saturday, there is a freedom rally here, actually all across Australia. One in Perth at Supreme Court Gardens, but there's going to be one in many locations, all the capital cities. Now, people are saying to me, do we really need a rally anymore? Like, it's over. Hell no, it's not over. This is the thing. Again, it's the eye of the storm. What's taking place here, what you're talking about with the digital IDs and all that kind of thing, this is very serious stuff. And if we take our foot off the throttle and go, oh, it's over. No, it's not over. You know what? The QR codes to get into pubs, they're telling people who are not vaccinated they're not allowed to drink alcohol. The segregation of the community, that bit's not on. It's not over. It's on hold, right? Okay. And if anybody,
it's not on hold. They're just hiding shit.
Well, yeah.
They're slipping this stuff under the door. That's what they're trying to do.
Right. That's exactly right. So you look at this.
They're waiting for riots in the Northern Territory, making big song and dance over that, so they can slip so much stuff through that it's not funny. It's the stuff that the Reserve Bank's getting into, but I'm sure Derek's going to touch that later. They're intentionally trying to tank so much, and they're just hiding it. They're still doing what they were doing before. Nothing's stopped. It's just not in the media anymore.
No, well, when you own the media, I suppose that's what you get. This is just it's quite distressing. I'm actually trying very hard not to get myself riled up because I see
you're doing well here. Okay, you got it. Deep breath.
On that front, okay,
but in some ways you should be outraged.
Yeah,
you should be out. There should be this righteous anger going, no, this is not right.
Well, let me give you an idea. Okay, this week, apart from all my normal sort of activities of life, on Friday night I'm actually speaking at an event that is all about the change in the family law court rules, okay, where they're going to throw out basically 50-50 assumption of shared care, and effectively what it means deleting a parent from a child's life. That's what it means, right? Now, so I'm speaking of that. Now, this is something that they are pushing through while we're, look at the pretty flowers over there. We'll distract you.
Look at the Ukraine and
you look at the Ukraine,
war. Look at the balloons up in the sky in the US. Yep. Right. Look at the strange lights over here appearing in the US.
Spot on.
Yep.
Right, while this is going on, right now, your government, your Labor government in Australia is absolutely destroying the next generation by removing parents and destroying children's life and actually promoting child abuse. That's what they're doing, right? So I'm speaking about that on Friday, and I'll try and keep calm. On Saturday, we've got, of course, the Freedom Rally, which I've got the absolute pleasure of being MC for, which is an honour. It's not a pleasure, it's a lot of bloody work, but it's an honour. And I think that, again, people are saying, oh, what have we got to be worried about? Look, we're sitting here right now. We're talking about what we've got to worry about right now. This is like we are right now, in my eyes, we're in the middle of a world war, okay? And
it is a war. You're absolutely right.
We're not fighting Russia.
We're not bullets and bombs.
No. This is you look at the Sam Smith carry on, all kind of carrying, Madonna, who looks like a character from the Muppets now. Look, it's just we need to stand up. And coming back to what you said before, we have the numbers. So stop being silent, everyone. Right? Get up. Make noise, be a bit of Bob Marley here. Get up, stand up, right?
Do the John Farnham, you're the voice.
Oh, exactly right. Yeah, we can do this. What are your thoughts here, Travis, before I talk on forever?
The biggest thing with the freedom rallies, they're getting to the point now, they're more of a fair. And one of the things I noticed, especially during lockdown, a lot of people were getting worn out. They were getting tired. They were getting the thought, is it worth it, still kept coming up to people's mind. And this is one of the reasons why I think the freedom rallies are so important, is because it gives you a chance to, you're no longer on guard around all these people. You're no longer in an environment where everyone is looking to attack you. You can actually finally let your walls down. You can let some of your defences go and actually talk to people who are on the same wavelength as you, where you can open up and be who you actually are.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really, really empowering thing. It gives the people back their backbone, their spirit to actually keep fighting this. But I just want to quickly pull something up to you. Like, how many people know that there was a Gazette released literally today? So a Gazette is something where the government has to notify people of what they're actually changing in the laws. Anytime they change something, for example, Chapter C, the public trustee and other services, legal services, they've just changed all the legal fees that the public trustee can charge to someone. and no one knows about this sort of stuff. The management of common accounts, they've just changed all the regulations on that as well. So this is just the WA Gazette. So, and the way you find the actual Gazette when it's published is next to impossible. It is such a hard thing to do. So every single time the government plans to change something or add something or pass a new bill, 9 times out of 10, they're actually listed in the Gazette because that's public notice.
Gotcha.
So far, I'm just going to go back to it now. In February alone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there's been 8 gazettes released, and 2 of them were on the 2nd, 2 of them were on the 3rd, 1 on the 7th, 9th, 10th, and 13th. They're all at random times as well. So unless people are aware of this, they know where to look for things, these are going to be next to impossible to find. So even going back all the way to the mandates when they were releasing them, all the mandates have been removed off the WA websites. So you can't find them anymore. You've got to go all the way back through individual gazettes to try and find the one that you need, especially if you do decide you want to challenge something. The government is actively going about and hiding everything that they've done in the past, so they can't get sued, they can't be challenged on, it can't be brought up in the future. So it's absolutely shocking. I think people need to start understanding where to actually find these gazettes. So what I'd love to do is actually, I'm going to send it to Derek because I've got him on Telegram right in front of me.
Right.
But I think it's really important in the descriptions for today's video to actually put in the link on where people can actually find the Gazette so they can actually have a read and know what the government is trying to do.
Travis, is this something we could put on, just set up literally a page on the Edge Radio Australia website that people could just go and check the Gazette and see what's going on?
I can't see why not.
Isn't that something we could do?
Publicly available information. We'll just put a link into it so they can actually see it. Because this is something that's, for example, the one that came out today is 201 to 222 pages long. I don't know how they have different pages, but yeah, it keeps all the pages are different.
Okay.
So they're constantly updating and changing the gazettes as well.
Yeah.
So how are you supposed to keep someone accountable if they keep doing all this sort of crap?
Oh, well, I suppose that's when it goes to a particular man's office and things get redacted all the time, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, is that the bald guy that we're talking about?
Yeah, the bald guy with the funny glasses. That could be him, yeah.
Hey, I'm not bald yet.
Yet. How long have you been with Edge?
Your spectacles are right there.
Shall I pop them on? Hang on.
I was watching one of our past videos and I turned my head and I was like, I'm majorly thinning on the back.
With that beautiful image, let's go to a quick break because, by God, we have gone on this time. And look, I don't care because, as I say, look, end of the day, Edge Radio Australia is all about free speech. This is what we're doing. We're getting out there, and these are our opinions. Okay, we're going through information which is very much fact. Really appreciate you doing that, and I think that we have a right to an opinion, and we also have a right to express that. We also have a right to share it to anybody who wants to listen.
Well, if you think Aaron got riled up for that one, I can't wait to see what he does after this break.
Okay.
I got more.
Oh, look, I'm going to calm things down. I've decided to play a song. Are we ready? It's
some Sade. You need some Sade right
Maybe
now, mate, to calm down.
might come the old smooth operator. No, we're going to go Man Without Hat. You have got something to talk about, Derek, which you have teased me. Okay, so
I know your game, Aaron.
This
I'm
is
onto you.
becoming a reaction video. Let's do it.
Okay, so there's this website called protos.com.
Right.
And they are saying that the Australian Electoral Commission has published their annual returns in the 2021-2022 cycle. And it is suggesting that the Sam Bankman-Friedman FTX company and executives were donating and making political donations to Australian politicians, political parties, I should say, as opposed to politicians.
Right.
So, Travis, you've got insight onto the legalities of that sort of stuff, haven't you? I know that you're not a lawyer. I've got to throw in the disclaimer there, but what's the standing on that?
So I've actually pulled up the aec.gov.au Parties and Representatives Financial Disclosure fact sheet around foreign donations. And it's actually really, really interesting here. So this is part of the 1918 Electoral Act. So it says here... I've missed it now. A foreign donation is a body politic of a body politic of a foreign country, a body politic of a part of a foreign country, a part of a body politic mentioned in paragraph and they go through all these different things what they are, and it literally states that any donations over $100 is restricted. Now there are some clauses in that, so let's say Auntie Myrtle lives in Ireland and she decides to give you $10,000 for your birthday. As long as it's for personal use, it's fine, but from what you've been telling me, none of this is it meets the guidelines that are in here.
Well, this article claims it was done this way. In August 2020, a group called Alameda Research purchased what we call over-the-counter trading desk Hivex from founders Fred Shabesta and Frank Restuccia. SBF was immediately made director of the entity, according to corporate documents reviewed by Protos. This is the group that are reporting it. FTX then announced that it would be using Hivex and its owner Alameda Research as a banking conduit for Australian dollar deposits and withdrawals. So eventually, ownership of this entity would be transferred from Alameda Research to FTX Australia for a D- amount. And what happened then was that if you look at the money trail, to the Liberal Party of Australia, the New South Wales division, it was alleged that it was donated $12,000 on December 12, 2021. And then in 2022, it received two donations, one in March 17 of $5,760 and $880 on March the 30th. Then it goes to the Australian Labor Party New South Wales branch. It donated $3,000 on April 5th, 2022. $1,500 on April 19th, 2022, and $2,000 on June 2nd, 2022. And to the Australian Labor Party, it donated $2,400 on April 15th, 2022. So this is interesting because there's smaller amounts, and Travis, get your input on smaller amounts.
Anything over $100 has to be declared.
Right, simple as that.
And anything over $1,000, the party that is receiving the money has to take due diligence to make sure that the money is not from a foreign source. So for example, let's say ABC Indian grocery shop decides to give someone $5,000 because there's Indian in the name of the thing, and this is actually one of the case studies. They used a different name. So what they did, they hunted down the name of the company on the Australian Securities Index registry, so they did an ABN search for it, and they had an Australian-based ABN. So because they do have an Australian-based ABN, they are considered an Australian donor. So that's fine. But if they do not have an Australian business number, they do not have an Australian an ABN, an ACN, so company number, and there's a couple of other things here as well. The entity principal place of activity is in Australia, they are still considered a foreign. They have to be, their primary place of business has to be in Australia.
Right. So English version now.
Okay, so if they're based somewhere else, not in Australia, they're considered foreign.
Yep. Yeah, obviously. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
But it comes to an Australian entity. If foreign money comes into an Australian entity and the Australian entity then donates those funds to the political group, there's no problem with that legally, I would imagine. Foreign source income from an Australian entity.
It depends where their primary place of activity is. So because the FTX Australia, their primary place of activity is actually still in America, that would be still considered a foreign entity.
Right.
And so this is one of those ones where it really needs to be deferred to the High Court, and it should be the High Court making a ruling on this one.
Interesting.
Ultimately,
and
obviously, go on.
We know how trustworthy the High Court is, especially on the Mineralogy Amendment Act.
So for those who aren't familiar with the FTX story, the background of the FTX story, that was just me entering to the room. Gongs go off every time I do that.
You're very special.
Well, I was just going to make a big announcement. For those of you who aren't familiar with the FTX story, what was happening was that they discovered that there was appeals from FTX, the big crypto trade, they're probably the second biggest in the world, that they were receiving donations for the Ukraine effort as far as the war is concerned in Europe against the Russians, and a lot of those funds were then being donated to this cause and then going back into FTX, and it's been alleged that those funds were then sending out to some of close to $80 to $83 million into the Democrats primarily in the United States. So they've been looking at this going, this is looking very, particularly when politics is involved.
Oh yeah.
And you'll discover too, when you set up these crypto accounts and all that sort of stuff too, they want to know if you're associated with a political party now.
Right, okay,
The scrutiny is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
The more you're moving the money, the more I want to know how much OMO you're using. Come on, let's be honest. This is just laundering.
So it's interesting where this is all going in relation to that, in terms of where the old FTX story is going to head. So,
yeah, okay. So essentially, I mean, look, any political party in Australia who's taking funds from a international body, could that be seen very clearly as political interference?
Again, you'd need legal advice, and it's in defining what is a foreign entity.
Sure.
You need advice in terms of what is considered international funds as opposed to domestic funds.
Sure.
And when does international funds become domestic funds when a business operates, right? So it's no problem in Australian business. If you have an online business, you're going to be receiving funds all over the world,
of course.
think, right? So do you define that as international money, or do you find it as local money? When is it defined as local? Those are the technicalities that are going to go through in terms of law, defining all of that.
Now, just something to take this even further when it goes to who you can actually accept money from, it even goes next step. So if the money's come from a third party, so for example in this one, let's say FTX gave the money to FTX Australia, and then FTX Australia gave the money to the Liberal Party. The third party, which is FTX America, is still considered restricted.
I'm going to throw something at Mr. Whitaker in front of us, because we've hijacked his show completely. Now,
I've touched some points. Some
sore points. It just breaks my heart that if you've got a position, and I'm very privileged to have a position where that apparently people care about my opinion. I don't know why, but they do. So when you have someone like the ABC who reaches out and says, "Yes, we'd like your opinion," oh, hang on, not that opinion. When you have someone like the SBS Industry Insight who reach out and say, "Hey, we hear you're an expert on this subject. We'd like you on." Oh, hang on, but don't talk about that. It says so much of what's going on, and it breaks my heart that this country. Well, actually, it's not. No, I'm going to take that back. My heart is broken, but I've got some, a bit of gaff tape and some cable ties. I'm going to put it back together, because ultimately, this is what has emerged out of this. This has made the independent media emerge in this country, in this world, and we are now unstoppable. All right, I'm telling you right, the toothpaste is out of the tube, as someone I know likes to say, and I think it's very, very true. I think that nothing's going to stop us now.
Yeah, they've created a whole different market.
They have,
and so again, opportunity.
Damn right.
You wouldn't be broadcasting here today on this program if that weren't the case.
No. Edge exists because of censorship. Because basically, in another role that I was involved with, I was being told by John Quigley, the state attorney general here. That what we can and can't say and who we can and can't talk to.
And look what it's done globally as well. I mean, you've got things like Project Veritas, right? And what they've been doing over the last month and that sort of thing.
Amazing work.
They are affecting the world.
Of course they are. Absolutely.
They are changing the world, the perspective, the story, the narrative.
Yeah.
So, the truth always comes out, no matter how people try to bury it and do it. The truth comes out.
Absolutely. Now, as we have stolen your show,
I've enjoyed it. I've hit second gear today.
Mate, now, is anything financial you'd like to talk about, or would you like a Bex and a nice lie down? I mean,
I got a finance question for Derek.
Yes.
And it's actually about political finance.
Of course it is.
And stuff like that. So, segue, beautiful. So if, from your finance point of view, let's say my dream comes true and all political funding gets cut off, where you've got to be self-funded, all political parties, no money gets returned, how much of an impact do you think that's actually going to have on the financial market, considering that companies like, there was a ethanol fuel company over east who donated. They didn't actually donate money. They just paid for all the Liberal Party's expenses. The next thing you know, within 12 months of the Liberal Party winning power, every single petrol station had an ethanol pump and it was legislated.
Right.
So how much of an impact is this going to actually have on the financial market if you actually had a fair and reasonable electoral system?
Oh gosh, I think you'd have to think about it really. Again, coming to Aaron's point, I think what's really important. How does it stop just the wealthy getting into politics? People who've got a spare 10 grand and self-funded to do that. A lot of mum and dads right now don't have a spare $10,000 to spend on politics. No. They're just trying to put food on the table and that sort of thing.
Sure.
So that's my big concern. I think we've got to have a system that, even the Aussie battler, as we like to call them, gets a voice, gets a go in the parliamentary system if they're going to do that.
It's so important.
I think the heart of it is we've got to come back to, a politician is put in that position in place to serve the people, not serve an agenda of a corporation or their own agenda.
That's right.
The people are they are public servants. They are there to serve the public. And I think the rotation of public servants through the system is healthy.
Yep.
So the career politician, is there 10, 20, 30 years. At least they have some time in the private sector or somewhere else.
Sure.
And can come back.
Experience real life, mate.
Come back and see this. I mean, one of the things that in my life...
Have a divorce or two?
Yeah, that'll change you. Trust me.
Look, one of the things that put me in a different perspective was actually having a break from the financial industry for a short period of time.
Right.
While I was building my own business,
Yep.
I actually got into childcare of all places. I had to do that. It was great because I could do some work in the morning.
Yep.
Build my business during the afternoon, see business appointments and I pay some bills by working in the evening. But it actually took me from the normal consultation of, I've got 7 investment properties and I have a tax problem. How can I minimise my tax? And I'm earning $150,000 a year.
Yep.
How can I minimise the tax? To seeing how many of our children are growing up in a tough area, fatherless, no dad, the trauma that these children have suffered.
So
that they have been just trying to get through the day, will be triggered by any emotional event. And it opened my eyes to where the family is at in Australia that I wouldn't have seen had I stayed in the corporate world for that period of time. And it's given me a more compassionate heart for people who are doing it tough.
It's so important, mate. And exactly right. Like, it's when you see these career politicians that have always had that silver spoon in their mouth, right? Look, sometimes you've got to have a spoonful of dirt. The reality is, if you don't fall, you don't know what other people are going through. You just don't. And I can certainly experience in my own life. There was a time in my life where I was flying high and everything I did touch to gold. Everything I touched turned to gold.
Yep.
Now, and then there's been another time where everything I've touched has turned to something else, different colour altogether.
And those times have made you a better person, though.
Bingo.
Right?
Because it brings you, when you are knocked down and you really you get perspective and you look at other people and you look at the way they're coping and you look at what they're going through, you can go, right, okay, I can see the whole picture now, whereas I could only see a little piece before.
See, and the purity of the heart then comes through.
Spot on. Right?
And this is the important thing, because with money, the more zeros there are involved, it just amplifies what's already there.
Yeah.
And so if you're an unhappy person without money, you're going to be even more miserable when you've got it.
Oh, of course.
If you're a really happy person without money, you're going to be even more happier when you do have it, right?
Yeah.
And so it really comes down to, you don't want the money to ruin an individual.
Sure.
Right? There have been times where I've talked with my business partner and stuff, and we've been concerned that, if this individual who we're considering doing a deal with were to get this money, we're afraid it actually might ruin them. Right? Because you are not just considering what that individual from a commercial perspective could do potentially, but what will it do to them individually?
Absolutely.
Because you're investing in that individual.
You look at all these people who win lotto and then they go through and they're poor afterwards. They go through all this horrible turmoil, all these people turn up and destroy their lives and all kind of carry on. You're absolutely right. You've got to look and have a moral view of things. Go, okay, how is this going to change that person? The thing about money is, look, the old saying, money can't buy happiness. Well, I've got a little tag to that, but it can rent it. Okay, so if you're an unhappy person when you're poor, even if you've got all those zeros in your account, you're still what you do is you use that money to fill your life with things that are supposed to give you meaning and purpose. You still haven't got meaning and purpose. What you've done is rent. Okay, you've rented, and whether it be the beautiful cars, the beautiful girls, and what kind of carry on. Let's cut the crap. You've rented it.
We've got to think about money is not the purpose of money is not just to acquire stuff, right? That's our idol in Australia. It's more toys, cars, boats, and I'm not knocking them. These toys are fun, right?
Oh, they are.
They're great fun. I'm not anti-toys, but it's the thing of the money is, again, the life purpose stuff, right? What cause are you doing? What are you investing in the future for the future generations? See, when you do that, you actually attract more money. Right? You want to make more money? Then get the purpose behind you and get it to something that has a greater cause.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you on that. I agree.
John DiMartini gives a great example. Can I
Yeah, fire, mate.
He says this. It's like the person going around and knocking on the door and saying, can you help me out? I need a donation this week. I overspent on whatever.
Yep.
And overshopped and all that sort of stuff. Can you spend me more? As opposed to the person who knocks on the door and says, we've had an accident and a child lost their life at the corner there, and we're just collecting funds so that we can fix the roads, and so there's no parent or family has to go through this situation again. Would you consider giving?
Yep.
Which one are you more likely to give to?
Spot on.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
The higher course, right?
Yep.
So
No
that's something that we've got to get in our understanding. It's not about the toys and just self-serving, and so I can do all this stuff and feel comfortable in life. It is about what is your purpose and how is that going to affect the world. And that's why I keep saying and repeating, the world needs you to do your life assignment.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally
They need you to do it.
Well, it can be very tough at times, and when you throw in financial struggle on top, that makes it very, very tough. I've got a $10 note right now that's identifying as $10,000, but it's not changing its value. You've got to. I think you're going to keep getting smashed, but
you keep getting back up.
It's
like the old Rocky movies, mate.
Oh, mate. I might go home and watch that.
You get hit, but you know what? The fact that you get back up again is the key.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
You got to look at this. I think with financial stuff, and look, we all have cash flow issues, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, we all have those seasons where even big corporations go through that, and that's what you got to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
And you go, what are the facts? All right, which bills are due today and which aren't?
Yep.
Right. Is the world going to end if I don't pay this bill today? Because that's the voices that's screaming behind you are the things that you're hearing the most, right?
So true.
And you start realizing when you start breaking it down, what can they do to you? What can they do?
No, well, yeah, they're not going to come around and beat you up, are they? If you haven't paid your Telstra bill.
What are they going to do?
Not yet.
No, yeah, it's coming.
Yeah,
that's
but
next year.
But when you start breaking it down like that, you realise, you know what? It's not as bad as you think it is.
Yeah.
All the voices are screaming, and you're going, you know what? It's okay. I'm here. I've had food in the belly.
Yep.
I'm going to go to bed and not worry about it. Tomorrow's a new day.
If I can throw a little advice out to Australians, okay? 2 things for Australians which we do really badly. We do the tall poppy syndrome really, really badly because we just tear everybody down who's trying to succeed or trying to do something good. We're very, very good at that. I wish we could be more like the Americans in that regard. One thing I think Australians are really bad at too, but I will point this at the Americans and probably the rest of the world, is that collection of toys. Oh my God. Like I've been there, I've been that guy who just goes, and I remember a place I used to work, and my work colleagues bought me a mug, and it had a picture of a Porsche on it, and said, "He who dies with the most toys wins," right? And I think to myself, oh God, I was living that, right? And that. But then I thought it was cool. When I look back at that mug these days, I think, wow, like what an empty life I was living, And I think that as Australians, we've fallen for this. We keep buying this Chinese-made crap. Shopping has become far too much of a pastime. We keep filling up with things that we just don't need. And if people would actually just focus on what's important, their family, their friends, their loved ones, would be in a far better situation.
I've been to many, many funerals, and I've never ever been to a funeral where they talked about how much money was in someone's bank account. What they do talk about is what contribution and difference they made to the community that is there represented by those individuals.
Absolutely.
That's what they focus on.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to that greater cause.
Yeah.
What are you contributing to change society? That's what you will be remembered for.
And a lot of people will be listening to this and thinking, oh yeah, but I'm just an average Joe or whatever. Well, that's just not true.
There's a lot of average Joes who've made a big difference in my life.
Absolutely. And I think that because exactly you're making the experience of going to the funeral, right? Okay, you go to a funeral and people who have had what's traditionally, invert the commas, very ordinary lives, you see how much they've touched people. You see the effect they've had on people. Maybe it would be nice to tell those people while they're still alive.
Yep. Absolutely.
Why don't we do that?
Absolutely.
Instead of going and buying, more tinsel to colour up our lives and tell the world, oh, look, Instagram, look how wonderful I am, look how successful I am. How about you live a little bit more substance and a little less, tinsel?
You'll never know what impact one act of kindness can have on someone's day.
Very true. Mr. Carter, have you any final thoughts, seeing we're only about half an hour over?
To be honest, most of you guys have covered everything that I wanted to say. You got very political today, Aaron. That's normally my job. But it's like, I couldn't argue with anything that you said, well, besides the government's money.
Yes.
There's just the biggest problem. There's so much out there that so many people don't know about. And this is one of the things I'm learning very, very quickly, that people just don't give a shit about politics. And politics literally is the rule book for everyone's lives.
Yes.
So what happens in the family law court, what happens to the financial markets and property markets, like the RBA is just saying that there's going to be 4 more rate rises and people with the mortgages expected to suffer greatly through this. So there's all these sort of things coming up, and politics is by far the most important thing in everyone's life, because it even determines who you can marry, what you can marry, and all that sort of stuff. Sure. It interferes in absolutely every aspect of your life more than anything else. So even if you go, oh, no, I'm a sovereign individual and I'm going to go off-grid and the government can't find me, well, actually, yeah, they can.
Yes, they can.
And so you need to understand the system to be able to protect yourself in the event that the government does decide to try and hunt you down. You need to know what you can and can't do and what rules you can bend to get away with what you hope to achieve.
For sure.
So, and that's why I love this program, because it's such a education tool. So it started off on the finance, but it's also teaching people like how the finance is influenced by the politics side of things. And people need to understand, if you're trying to use something, you've got to understand what sets the rules. So this is one, 11, make sure you keep learning, keep educating yourself, and keep understanding the politics, because it's not something you just ignore. Politics will force its way into your life. It doesn't matter what you do.
It forced its way into my life, and I'm going to say say something about.
I'm guilty of that.
No. Well, yeah,
It's his fault.
it's all him. I will give this very, very graphic indication of how politics works in my life and what got me political. Apart from that annoying Mr. Carter, is in 2007 I went to the family law court to protect my daughter. Okay. Back then the laws were actually written under the Liberal Party government, and there was a presumption of 50-50 custodian support of the child. I walked away still with my beautiful daughter. In fact, I actually asked for 50%, and the courts gave me more than 50% because they found that my daughter's mother wasn't in a particularly good place at the time, and she's someone I actually really, really wanted to support and still would want to support to this very day. But ultimately that's what the court said, because the laws of the country at the time said that I had to be treated with respect despite my gender being the wrong one. Fast forward to when the Labor government came in and changed the rules, and made the presumption of and what's going on right now with the Labor government's even worse. But when Julia Gillard changed the laws in 2010, 2011, her changes in the laws basically meant that when I went to court in the years after that, which I can't now talk about because of Section 121 of the Family Law Court Act, but I will say this: when I walked after it with a Liberal government, I had rights. With a Labor government, I was erased. And on the 5th of May 2017, I took my little girl to school, and I've never, ever, ever seen her since. I haven't spoken to her since. I haven't corresponded with her in any way. And that's not my choice. Your government matters. Politics matters. These people are screwing with our lives for their own personal gain. And if you don't want to get involved with politics, then you don't want to get involved with life. That's my thought. So we'll finish the show, shall we? That's a fact. I'm going to be speaking, as I say, on Friday night, an event in Stirling that is about these changes to the Family Law Court Act. These are incredibly important things. Augusto Zimmerman will be there as well. Philip Cooper will be there. Absolutely, just great people that have got some important things to say. I consider it a great privilege. And as I say, when it comes to the Freedom Rally on Saturday, I consider that a great privilege as well. I also consider it a great responsibility, and a great responsibility to everybody out there to actually come and be part of it, because we must stop this insanity. We must protect family. When you take everything out of the equation, we're on a finance show, we're talking about money, we're talking about politics, we're talking about this and that. You know what matters? Right, 2 things in life matter: family and love. Nothing else. The rest is just Noise. I'm going to finish talking now.
Well, all the best with your presentation on the weekends. That you've got to do.
Thanks,
I hope they go really, really well.
I appreciate that, mate. And like all of my speeches, I won't be writing a thing. It'll just come straight off the cuff. All right, Travis, mate, thank you so much for zooming in. Boom, boom, boom. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. The Greater Wealth. Been a different one.